1 second. I don't know what this is. Oh, it's like, hello everybody. Oh my gosh. It tells me my phone reminds me that I'm supposed to be off right now. All right, you guys, hello and welcome back to the show, everybody. I'm so excited. As you guys come in, say hey. We've already had someone say hey. I think that was previously. Hello, I'm not sure who that is. Hello. Thank you. First and foremost, before we dive into this, I just want to say thank you to everyone who was very understanding of last week and the show being canceled. I actually had to cancel a mastermind that I was doing as well. Family crisis is averted. We're working through stuff right now. So thank you guys, though, for understanding. It's been a massive life shift. So we'll leave it, like, we'll put it there. It's been a massive life shift. It's one of those ones where you're like, oh, I'm going to really learn something from this. So, and Robert says, hey, hello, Robert. Hey. So thank you guys so much. And it is back to showtime, you guys, regular programming every Tuesday and Thursday. So I'm so excited. I'm so excited. And without further ado, as you guys come in, say hey. If you are coming in from YouTube, say hey. If you are over on YouTube, make sure you subscribe. Click the notification so you can be here when the show is active. If you are on Facebook, say hey, comment, like, share this if you feel so called to. I'm so excited, you guys. And without further ado, I'm going to drop into this intro, and we're going to get this awesome show started. I'm so excited. So, hello and welcome to the TUF Woman Table. The table where I invite badass tough women like Lily here to take a seat, join in on the conversation, and share her amazing story. And I'm really excited for your story because I think it's like really awesome. All about body love. So at TUF Woman, I believe that all women have the power within themselves to live an authentic life, free from fear, confident in who they are, and empowered as fuck to go out and get whatever success means to them, no matter what that looks like. I share this belief by championing tough women like Lily here who have walked through the fire, felt the fear, faced adversity, and kept pushing through it all. Women who now live the life they want as the woman they were created to be. Women who own their story so other women can embrace and own theirs as well. Because as we all know, and actually this was repeated the other night, so I just thought it was very serendipitous. But when you share your story and you give yourself permission to own that story, you give someone else permission in the same breath. And I think it was when you own your greatness and you stand firm in that greatness, you give someone else permission to own theirs as well. So without further ado, my guest tonight, Lily Nicole. Hello.
Hello. I'm so excited for this.
I know. And one of these days, because someone said, and I love it because you're the second podcaster, second or third. No, I've had a few, but you're the second one in a row. I had another woman who runs a podcast on this. She's like, that was a podcast intro. So one of these days, I'm actually going to find my podcast intro from my podcast. And I'm going to share it. This one is I believe this one is like far more epic. So
that was a good intro. That really was. Impressed.
I know it took a little while, and actually almost have it completely memorized. So, all right, tell everybody a little bit about who you are, and then we're going to get into this awesome episode.
Yay. Yeah. So thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here because I think that our missions are really aligned. Like when we first had our first conversation and everything we were saying, really what I am here, I know on this earth to do is help women step into their power and into their purpose and their greatness as well, just like you do. And I do that through through helping women connect to their bodies. So I am a body image coach, and I help women connect to themselves, connect to their bodies, form a real relationship with their bodies. And truly what I mean by that is ground in their energy, right? Feel comfortable and confident standing in their own power and being who they truly are and worthy of expressing themselves fully, worthy of sharing the message that is on the inside of them. And what I find and what I have found with myself and what I have found with so many past clients is that when we connect to ourselves, we can manifest all the things that we desire, right? We bring in dream. If you're a business owner, we bring in dream clients and money. We bring in dream like relationships, dating, soul sister connections, experiences, and all of these things. Just because we are confident and grounded in who we are, it allows us to express what's on our minds. It allows us to confidently ask for what we want and for the help that we, need and deserve in order to get to where we want to be. So that's truly what I do as a coach. I do a lot of inner child work and a lot of just deep self connection because that's what I needed and that's what got me to where I am today. My life has changed really drastically over the past, it's just always been changing, right? But over the past like 5 or so years since I really came into learning about personal development and mindset shifts. And at one point I lost 70 pounds and I built this connection to my body in like a physical health way. And then beyond that, as my story goes, I gained 30 pounds back when I found spirituality. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm more than a body. I am a soul. And now it's really kind of like I actually have a pendulum in my hand right now. It was kind of like that pendulum swing, right? It was like all the way focused on body, then like dropped it. Nope, all the way focused on soul. And now what I help myself and other women do is kind of find that balance in the middle, like swing back because yes, you are more than a body, but I also firmly believe that we are all also more than a soul, right? If we don't have that connection to our body and that love and that deep love for our bodies, we can't express what we have that's inside of us. We can't share our soul with other people unless we love what it's coming out of, right? The only reason that you and I are able to have a conversation, that I'm able to share what's on the inside of me is because of my body and because I'm able to like get on camera and be excited to talk to everyone and have my thoughts come through clearly. So that's really my mission. That's my story. That's a little bit of what got me into all of this as well.
Well, and I think it's interesting that you talk about that because my mom was just talking to me today about stress and nutrition and how a lot of our stress can actually come out of our gut.
Mm-hmm.
When we're not eating the right things, it can cause even more stress. And then you think about things like one of the topics I was reading on was adrenal fatigue and how that's a lot of, and it's just that disruption within your body and not giving it the things it needs and and I've felt that myself where when I don't have the things I need, I can't think. I'm like constantly fatigued, and it's very hard to be able to operate. And then you think about it, all those entrepreneurs, they enter into that state of burnout.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so true. And even with what I do is not even related. I used to do like weight loss coaching and physical health coaching, but with all of that, again, like that's one important piece of our life, right? Focusing on our nutrition and that we're getting enough sleep and taking care of our physical health. And there's all these other pieces that are important. And the only reason that we don't act on those fully is because we're feeling a disconnection from ourselves, because we're feeling like we're not worthy, because we're believing a story that we've told ourselves about how I will always be the big girl. I will always be the one who binge eats. I will always be the girl who doesn't get enough sleep, who burns out. And so no matter what it all comes down to like the subconscious belief that we have. And that's what affects our nutrition, which then it all is this like circle that just goes round and round because our beliefs affect every decision that we make, and every decision that we make then comes in and affects like how we feel and how we are able to show up, and then it affects the new decisions that we make because we're so tired, so we're just going to do what we're used to, and it's like round and round and round again. Mm-hmm. So all of it, like if you are trying to get a healthier body, if you are trying to like have more energy to put into your business, if you want to have more confidence to create the life that you desire, right? It needs to come back to being connected to you and feeling worthy to take up the space that you take up, regardless of how much space that is or how little space that is.
Oh, I like that. right. So here is my favorite, well, one of my favorite questions. I have a few favorite ones on here, but here's my favorite question to ask. What is the backstory, the why, the thing that got you here? Because that is always my goal with the show, is to show women and everybody in general that there's always a backstory. It's not like, they say, oh, she was an overnight success. And actually, I think it was Lizzo that posted it. It's like back to 8 years, like 8 years of just hard work. And she said for people to tell me that I was like an overnight success. And she's like listing all the stuff she did. So I always hope to be able to bring more of the reality into this by showing people that there is a backstory to it. There is no overnight success, but if you stick with it and you keep moving in purpose, you're going to reach where you're meant to be at. So tell everybody the why that got you here.
Yeah, so I love this question as well because I agree with you. It's so easy to look at people online and think, number one, as they're doing things like, well, easy for her to say, she doesn't have to go to work. I work full time for myself. And I think a lot of times, a lot of the women that I work with are other coaches or entrepreneurs, and they're like, oh, well, that's easy because she's got the time. They not always have this freaking time, right? Like, it's not like you just step into the world and have these things that are easy. Really, what it took along the way is just knowing what I was meant for. It was like this eerie feeling of like, I know what I want. And even though the proof's not showing up, I'm going to get there. But for me, my story, I mean, we can go back as far as forever, right? I grew up always just feeling, I was very self-conscious because I was bigger, right? I'm 5'10" now. I was always very tall. I was a chubbier kid. Growing through like high school and things, I just felt shy and out of place. And I was really afraid to express myself and share what my thoughts were because it sounds so ridiculous, but like since I was like seeing things in the media, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this, of what type of person you're supposed to look like in order to be worthy, right? I didn't see myself that way. I didn't see myself pictured in those people who I perceived as all like tiny, little, petite, cute women, which I never saw myself as a kid, as a teenager, as anything. So I thought people don't want to hear what I have to say. So I can remember, like, even just for example, being in class in school and wanting so badly to like raise my hand and share my opinion or thought, but like my hand literally, like physically wouldn't go up because I was just like, nope, my mind was telling me like, no one cares. You're not going to speak this out loud. And that was something that I just realized recently, that I just had been dealing with that my entire life, and how that started to show up in my reality beyond just what was going on in my inner world was I started searching for my worth outside of myself, right? It was always like, try the next diet, try the next fad thing, join Planet Fitness, pay for it for 3 years, never go over and over and over again. And then also trying to find my worth in people outside of me. So in which boy likes me right now, who wants to date me, who loves me, who's leaving me, right? My worth was attached to the opinions of men and honestly boys, really, when we're getting down to it, for a really long time. And that was only because I wasn't able to find the worth in myself on my own. And so when I got to like college, and I'll kind of bring different pieces of this story together to show where it all begins. But I started also really putting myself out there online. Like, I loved the online space. I felt like I could finally be myself. I could share parts of me. I could speak and write. Like, I've always been a writer. So I was able to kind of like write things and share my personality in a way that I never felt comfortable doing in person. And I was in a relationship. It was a pretty toxic relationship all throughout college, but I found my worth in it, right? And it was one of those like tumultuous, like high passion and low, like awful, like screaming matches type of thing, like up and down, on and off. And that's what kept me going, honestly, right? Like for a long time, I really blamed him for being the toxic person, but it truly, I mean, I was in it with like, I was like living for those highs and lows because every time that I was dropped to the ground, that meant that I could be picked back up again. And pick me up felt so good that I would create situations while we were up here that would plummet us down so that I could be picked back up again. And I started noticing that as like a recurring pattern. But that's also when I started a Tumblr. I had a long distance relationship blog that I started when I was 20 and I just turned 29. So I've really been in this like online space. A lot of my followers and clients now came from following me on that blog 9 years ago. So if people are business owners listening, they say it takes time to build an audience. I have been building an audience before I even knew I was building an audience. So just openly like sharing my story with people. And I clearly back then I wasn't sharing the full story because I didn't, I was sharing the highlight reel only, like all of the good things. But after that relationship ended, I had graduated college and I found new love and it was great. It was so much healthier. I like finally found someone who was able to help me see like what he saw and lift me up in that way. And at this point, I had become pretty overweight because the previous breakup really took its toll on me. I had just graduated college. I was like making my own money, eating out all the time, right? And I was so uncomfortable in my skin. And it came back again to feeling like the biggest girl in the room, worrying and thinking like, why does my boyfriend even love me? Because look at me, right? And having those thoughts, I was also always the type of person that would have those thoughts and then try to push them immediately away because I was like, this isn't positive thinking, right? Like hashtag positive vibes only, like nothing else can come in. And so I would just ignore those thoughts, but it didn't mean I didn't understand this then. But what I know now is that I was pushing them away and trying not to think them. But just because I was trying not to think them didn't mean that they didn't exist. Like I can't push them away. I was just shoving them down, right? And trying to cover them up with like fake fluff. But I eventually hit a breaking point and I finally decided, okay, I'm going to go all in with this like weight loss journey. And I knew myself, I knew from my blogging days that I really put my all into things that I was sharing openly online. So I became a Beachbody coach and I freaking loved it. I lost 70 pounds. I got into the best shape of my life. I found my worth inside of myself. And then, so that started about 5 years ago. This year, it'll have been 5 years since I started Beachbody coaching. And that was really when I first got introduced to personal development for the first time. And I was reading these books and I was building myself up and I was realizing, wow, I don't need to put my worth outside of myself. My worth comes from within me. And I was learning that and finding that. And then my, amazing boyfriend cheated on me. And everything just like fucking crashed again. That was like a really, really hard thing for me to go through. And this was only 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago that I found out now. And everything just kind of like went back up in the air. And I was telling myself, maybe you aren't good enough, right? Because why is he choosing someone else? What happened, what changed. And looking back, I can see what happened and what changed, right? Of course, it doesn't really have much to do with me. It doesn't have much to do with us. It has to do with the other person. And he found his worth through me finding my worth in him. And so when that was no longer required, that's kind of the shift that happened, but I couldn't see that in the moment, right? So luckily, I had already dove into the world of personal development. So if you are the type of person who's listening to a show like this, like you're already in it, right? And when something quote unquote bad happens to you, it's not about necessarily finding the good, but it's about knowing that you're strong enough and you're capable of picking yourself up and moving forward from it. So beyond that, that's what really catapulted me into like getting into the best fucking shape of my entire life. Like I felt amazing. And I went all in with my business and I went all in with building a connection to myself. And Since then, I mean, a year ago, so October 2018, so a little over a year ago is when I launched my own like mindset coaching business because of everything that I'd learned. And I was able to put these offers together and actually get people who were interested in working with me because I had been doing like the health and fitness stuff for about 3 years at that point. A little over that, I guess. And then I just started doing mindset coaching. And then I moved into spirituality and spiritual coaching. And over this past year, like through the end of 2018, all through 2019, I gained back about 30 pounds of the 70 that I had lost. And something that I realized was my confidence isn't any different. I feel just as good now as I did 30 pounds ago. And that was really the lesson for me of our connection to our body and our love for our body and our love for ourselves. It was like a lesson for me to learn that I needed to share with others. It doesn't come from weight loss. It doesn't come from, physical health and fitness. Like, yes, you do want to take care of your body, but how skinny your body is, how in shape it looks and it appears as, isn't what makes you confident, isn't what allows you to get up in front of audiences and speak and share your message with people. It's you loving yourself so that you love and accept how you look no matter what you look like, right? So what I always like to say to people is it doesn't matter what you look like. What matters is that you like how you look. Because I could have gained, 30 pounds back and then been ashamed of my body and only shown myself from the head up from then on until I lost it again. But I realized like, no, this is me. I love who I am and I want to share that with the world. And so all of that really just kind of like intertwines together. I feel like there's a lot of pieces of that story, but they all felt important to share because as we're growing, it's like, as you could see, like in the beginning, I was in that like toxic relationship. And then I moved back up to more of those highs. And then it felt as if I was dropped on my ass when my like great boyfriend cheated on me. Right. And I was, it really did bring me back to that low place. But what it was not like a sign of you're meant to be unhappy, like bad things happen to good people, blah, blah, blah. It was an opportunity for me to prove to myself what I was now capable of and where the worth came from. And I needed to move on in my life and I never would have left that relationship and I never would have grown in this way had that not happened. So all of the lows, all of the like crappy, shitty feelings, like I was able to pick myself up from those and move through them because I just started one day and I decided not to give up, right? And there are all these moments of like, am I going to be able to do it when it came to my business, when it came to my weight loss? But it was always just this small, tiny belief. So even when I was 70 pounds away from where I wanted to be in my body, right? Even when I was making absolutely zero negative dollars in my business, I knew, like, I know I can get to that weight loss goal that I had. And then one day I woke up and I was there, right? And I didn't just wake up. It took years of continuously showing up, but my eye was always on that vision. My eye in my business was always on the vision of like, okay, a 6-figure year. I know it's coming. I don't know how the hell it's going to happen, but I'm just going to continue keeping that in my mind and taking those steps. And then 2019, I had my first 6-figure year, right? So it's just about having that vision and knowing that it can come to you, even when there's like absolutely no proof and everything in your life is going to shit. And you're like, what the hell is even going on, right? It's still having that firm belief that you deserve to have what you want and what you can envision for yourself. And when you keep that vision in your mind, your steps that you take are moving you towards that place.
Oh, I love it. I love talking about belief, but I want us to take a step back before we talk more about belief and dive into where you talked about having to have that low and go through those things to be able to move forward. Because I think this is something that a lot of people struggle with, and I've struggled with it before. And we go through these very large, life situations and we go, oh my God, my life is over. And we stop moving. And I think the one thing that I have to ask, because I always want to ask this when people come on and they talk about these things they've gone through in life is, I feel like this is the question a lot of women want to know is what is it that you did to keep you moving forward? Because really what I feel like entrepreneurship and all that is just those small moments where you choose to keep moving forward. Like, oh my God, I've been in business for a year now. I'm not seeing what I thought I would do. And it's like, do I keep moving forward? Or, you know what I mean? So I think oftentimes we get stuck in that rut, and we go, okay, what do I'm here and this sucks. And then we stop moving, and you see so many people drop out and they stop moving. So what is it that kept you moving forward? Especially like you said, when you would come up and realize you had these patterns and you had these cycles and you had these things going on. What was it that got you through that?
Yeah. So I love this conversation, and I feel like my answer might come across as like frustrating to some people, but to me, there was just no such thing as quitting. It was like, I know what I want, and this sucks. This is hard. This is frustrating. This is not working how I want it to. But I was like, no, I'm going to get to where I want to be. And were there moments of doubt? Were there moments of me being like, should I just go back to teaching? Right. Like I had quit my teaching job and I was out of it for a full year. And then by the end of the year, I wasn't making any more money than I had been when I quit. And that's when I had like, I remember that was like my first like huge breakdown. And I like went to my mom and I was like, do I just need to go back to teaching? But even as those words were coming out of my mouth, like in the back of my mind, it was like, bitch, no, like that's not what you want to do. And so I would say it's like if something is meant for you, you know it. Even if the proof isn't showing up in your physical reality, the proof is in your mind that it's what you desire, right? And it's not even just that you have to figure out how to get there, it's that you have to align yourself to getting there, right? So for me, for example, and we'll use my business as one example. When I, at that one point, right, this was so summer of 2018, a year and a half ago, I wasn't making any more money than I had been when I quit teaching. And I was like, what the F? Had a breakdown and then went to like an energy worker. So I was like determined to find the answers, on the inside of me. And what it ended up being was that I wasn't, I was so tunnel vision, like my success is going to come from Beachbody coaching, when in reality, what I really wanted to do, if I had stepped back and looked at what I truly desired at this point, was to release Beachbody. And I still did it for a while alongside my own coaching. But what I wanted to do was step into creating my own programs. So it's about shifting, allowing yourself to shift, being honest when you have to release something that you once loved that maybe isn't working for you the same way anymore, allowing yourself to grow through those moments. And then I also feel like I should talk about like with that breakup and with like I was betrayed in a way. Like if I had told that the whole actual story of what happened in that relationship, people's jaws would be on the freaking floor. It was insane. And part of moving through that and moving through heartbreak and like those really low lows is first of all allowing yourself the grace to like stay in bed and cry, right? Like maybe when I had started my business like 2 years prior to that breakup, there hadn't been like a day that I had gone without posting on social media, without going on my story. And I remember one specific day where I was just like, I cannot do this today. And there was nothing on my story the entire day for the first time in years, right? And I just laid in bed and let myself have that moment. And that's part of what I coach women through now, is really allowing yourself the grace to feel the emotions that you're feeling, because even if they're low, even if they're sad, like in order for them to leave you, they have to move through you, right? It's like if you have a kidney stone, in order for it to come out, it's going to hurt. But if you don't feel its way out, then it's just going to be stuck inside of you. It's the same thing with negative emotions. In order for them to come out, it's going to hurt, right? But then once it's gone, then it's gone. And you have the opportunity to like refill your cup and refill yourself with something that's more positive and that feels actually good. So yeah, just like I said, having that vision, knowing that what you desire is meant for you, even when there's no actual physical proof of it yet. And then also giving yourself grace, because that was something I needed to learn as well, that like it's okay to not be perfect, and it's okay to give up for a few days and then step back on, right? Because I think what happens with a lot of people is they go down this hole and they're like so low, and then they say like, well, I'm so far from where I was before, so why would I climb back up? But no, you just have to keep stepping back up.
And I think that's a really important message, because that's something that I even struggle with to this day, is giving myself grace, because I feel like this is the double-edged sword of all this mindset stuff is positive, like you said, positive hashtag. And so it almost comes across like you can't actually feel the negative emotion when it comes up. And what people don't realize is when you don't feel the negative emotions, you actually create an energetic block in your system. And then the real work has to come into play. So when oftentimes what I've struggled with is giving myself time. And the other thing that I like that you talked about was being able to release the thing that you thought you loved, the thing that you thought was going to be the thing that you were going to, this vehicle you were going to go to six figures with. And I guess I would have to ask you is what did you do to move through the pivot? Because that's the other thing. This is something I had a conversation about today with a friend. We were talking about a program of hers, and I said, make sure that when you're going through helping people building their business, you talk to them about a pivot or exit strategy. And she said, well, what do you mean? I said, because here's the thing. People get, like you said, people get really tunnel visioned and thinking that this is it. This is the only way that I'm going to do this. And they stop anything else from coming in. So I tell people I've worked with, talked to, it's like, what happens if that's not what it is? What do you do next? And they're like, oh my God, I don't know. And then what happens is from that, I don't know, because they don't know, they stop. And they're just like, and what is it? This an object in motion cannot stay, will stay. I can't even remember. It's new. Object in motion will stay in motion unless met with an opposing force.
There you go.
Yeah, right. It's like, when am I ever going to use the laws? Right? But there you go. So kudos to my high school science teacher, whichever one got me to remember that. But yeah, I think that's just as important as what happens when we go through the life shift is what happens. How do you work through the pivots? Because there are a lot of us who we enter into this business. Like when I entered into this, and a coach told me this, when I entered into coaching, I said, the only way I'm going to make money is if I get coaching clients. And they're like, do you know by saying that you're already like preventing the universe and God from helping you get any other kind of income? And I'm like, what? They're like, coaching is probably just one piece of it. They're like, you really have to open yourself up to thinking that your business is going to encompass a lot of things. And that changed a lot of stuff, because when we talk about embracing greatness, women, especially when you ask them their big vision, they'll be like, oh, this and this would be kind of, it's like, well, why is that not why? Like, so being able to acknowledge that there could be a potential pivot also opened myself up to a larger piece of my overall vision. And I was like, okay, you know what? That could happen. This could happen. This could happen. So what was key to helping you move from that pivot from Beachbody and coming into this?
Yeah. So this is a great conversation as well. I have pivoted in my business, in my work life, very often, right? So the first pivot was when I quit teaching and had to admit to myself, I just went back to school to get my teaching certification. And a year and a half later, I am quitting. I spent all of this money and I'm not going to use it, right? So a lot of entrepreneurs make that decision with their job that they already had. So it's acknowledging that, okay, I once really wanted to be a teacher, got into it, decided I have found something that I enjoy more, and I pivoted from that, right? Now, when I went into being a teacher, did I think that I was going to pivot out of that? No, I thought it was going to be what I did for life, right? And then it was hard to let go of. And it's this thing of like, what are people going to think? Are they going to judge me? Are they going to call me crazy? Are they going to be watching for me to fail? And of course, there were people that did those things, I'm sure. And, those were thoughts that went through my head, but I knew what I wanted. So I allowed myself to pivot. Then I was in Beachbody. And I think that this mostly happens with like network marketing, MLM situations, because there really is this like huge like pressure to stay, right? It's like you are a lifer, because that's how, and I love Beachbody so much. I still they grew me into, I still use the products and things like that. And the company as a whole is amazing. I do also think that when a person is meant to come to the end of their journey with like selling like a direct sales sort of situation. It's like you feel all of this shame because I watched people leave our team and watched people leave the company and then get kind of like, I don't want to say excommunicated, that's a little extreme, but it is this type of thing where then all of a sudden you're doing something different and everyone's looking at you like, oh, well, she quit. She didn't give it long enough. She didn't, keep trying hard enough. And it was also all that I had ever known. It was like I was watching all these huge Beachbody coaches make millions of dollars. And I was like, hell yeah, I want to do that, right? I'm going to become a 15-star diamond and I'm going to work my way there. And everyone just said, like, it just takes time, like, give it the time to get there. And I was getting impatient and they said, don't get impatient, have patience. You can still make it. And so it was like this feeling of loyalty, right? And I think that that's what a lot of people have to a network marketing company, but you can also have that feeling of loyalty to whatever you start your business as and whatever type of like programs that you're running or offers that you have. And for me, like the first, again, like I had to admit to myself that I wanted to do something outside of Beachbody. And then I allowed myself to do both at the same time. I was still full on hitting all of the Beachbody goals up until May of this past year of 2019. Like I was doing both. I was selling, I had my, I was making like at minimum of 8K per month between February and May, and also doing my Beachbody business as well. And then I remember in May, I was like getting a certification for coaching and I went to like make a video about my Shakeology and I was like, this feels like bullshit to me. Like finally it had hit me. And once that moment hit me where I was like, I don't want to talk about this anymore, I realized I'd been thinking that for months. It's like when we finally let ourselves admit it a little bit, we're like, oh, that's been there. That thought has been recurring. And now this is just me finally acknowledging it and admitting it. And it's true. Like when we shift in our business, it's kind of like losing a piece of us, right? It's like it's sad. I cried when I told my business coach, like, I think I want to let go of Beachbody. But it was the right move for me. And then I had my first 10K month that month because I had released and let go of what was holding me back from being where I truly wanted to be. And since then I've pivoted in my business, like again, right? I branded myself and I really dove all into spirituality and like spiritual coaching. And now I've realized like it's more about bringing that all together, right? Spirituality is a piece of it. So I pivoted back into body focus, but without the weight loss like I was doing in Beachbody. So I think number one is not attaching yourself so much to whatever I say right now is what I'm going to believe for the rest of my freaking life, no matter what. That's a really huge tip that I have for people because it's harder to get out of something when you've been saying, I will always, always, always do this, right? Allow yourself to know yourself well enough that you are going to grow. You may be a different person 6 months from now. You may believe something totally different. You may want something totally different and have that be acceptable and okay by not saying, this will always be my belief and this will always be what I do and what I preach and what I teach. Because maybe in 6 months, you're going to look back on something you like taught today and be like, ooh, I don't really like how that feels. And that seems wrong, right? So you give yourself the grace to have those conversations with your audience and those just like get real moments with yourself of who you are now, because we're always growing, we're always changing. And it's okay if our businesses do as well, as long as it's not because we're like, oh, this isn't working, let me just like throw it out the window and you're changing your business every week. You're a money coach and then you're, a this coach and you're a that coach. So like having a little bit of like a filter for yourself too, and knowing when you're doing it just to waste time or because it's actually time to move and pivot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I feel like that's something that I've seen come across too, is like, well, this isn't making money. So obviously it's not working. And it's like, well, you've only been in it like a little tiny bit.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to let it grow a little bit, give it some roots there, I think, and in talking a second on network marketing, and because I did network marketing for a little bit too, I did makeup. Like, can you believe it? I did makeup, y'all. I sold makeup for a little bit. But something I saw is like, my family and friends aren't supporting me, and I just don't think I'm meant to do this, you guys. this is like this is the next piece I want to talk about because I think this belief is so important. That's why I talk about knowing the vision first before you start setting the goals, or knowing the vision first before you start deciding what your actual business is. So many people get into business and are like, I'm going to do this business. Well, what's the vision behind it? What are you going to do with it? And a lot of times I just want to get rich. Oh, that's not a good thing. But yeah, it is really important, everybody, that you have the belief, because there are so many times, and I'm going to be really upfront here. I went homeless for my business, and you guys, it's just there was other stuff behind it. But I had that moment where you called your mom. And it's funny because I called my mom too. I was down in Florida. My roommate had kicked me out. Basically, she jacked the rent up, and then she said my kids could not come down and visit. And I was like, well, this is not going to work very well. And so I said, well, I'm probably going to have to get another place. She said, okay, get out of my house. And that's kind of how that went. So here I am. I'm like sleeping on people's floors, slumming around in couches. I'm like, I call my mom. I'm at work one night, and I said, I'm like crying. And I said, Mom, should I come back to North Carolina? And I said, I don't want to. I said, but should I come back? And she's like, I don't think you should come back. And I was like, what? She's like, I know, you think I would be the first person to say, get your ass up here. I don't think you need to come back. And she's like, do you want to come back? I said, no. I said, because I just don't feel like I've given it enough down here. And sure enough, by sticking with it, yes, it was still hard for a little while. I slept on somebody's couch. I slept on my friend's couch for like 4 months before I came back up to North Carolina. So, but I knew that I had to keep with it. And then I ended up pitching my company. I want to say that I made like thousands of dollars. I didn't, but I built up an insanely amazing network. I met some really amazing connections. And now because of it, I have a phenomenal network in Tampa that has opened doors for me. So that's also the other thing that comes with it, is leaving yourself open to the how of things. Like, how is this going to look like for me? So, okay, maybe it didn't result in this insane abundant monetary thing, but it was abundant in so many other ways. I met so many other people that are such an integral part of my network now. But how has having that absolute belief in what it is that you're doing and who you are and what you can bring to the table, how has that shifted everything now? Because I think that's the other part of it. It's like, this is what happens when you have the belief. This is what happens when you stick through the really shitty times. And I want to remind everybody that everybody had a shitty time. Look at, what was it, Jeff Bezos, where they show like when he started Amazon, and it was in his little room, and he's like shipping things out himself. Like, everybody starts with. So what has believing in yourself and what it is that you're here to do, how has that shifted everything for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, like you said, it's everything, right? Our belief is everything, and it's why some people make it and why some people don't. I don't think that anyone's necessarily like more, but who does make it is necessarily more skilled or more worthy or more deserving. It's just they wanted it badly enough, and they believed that they could have it more than the other people, because it's that belief that allows us to keep going, right? If we don't have that belief, and if we haven't built that belief, and with that, what's important is believing that you're worthy of it, right? Because believing that you're worthy of actually getting to that point. Because if you don't believe that you are, then your subconscious mind is not going to work your way there, because it's like, no, you can't have that. So there's that belief in yourself, and then just that belief in your vision. Because I mean, just to keep it really simple, like, why the hell would you take steps towards something that you don't believe is possible? So building that strong belief and that strong center of like, I know what I see for myself, and I know that I can have it, even if I have no freaking clue how. Like, that's what keeps people going, and that's who succeeds, right? That's who gets it. Because it's like you've probably seen those like memes and those pictures where it's like this guy, and he's like digging a tunnel, right? And like the treasure's like right here, and he stops right here, and it like puts the tunnel down. And he's like, fuck, like, okay, I'm going back, right? Like, you never know when that treasure is going to hit. And if you give up, that's the only way that you're not going to get it. Maybe he would have to keep going really, really far, right? But it's all about having that belief and then doing what it's going to take, which means just taking inspired action to align to the type of person who receives those things, right? Sometimes we don't see the success right away because we're not taking action from the point of view of the person who would have those things. So once you do believe what you're meant for, then it's like showing up as the person who does have that. And if you have goals of like six figures, this is where I made the mistake thinking that like, okay, if I'm gonna show up as if and act as if I'm already rich and act as if I'm already making six figures, then let me swipe my credit card on everything that I possibly can because rich people spend money, right? No. You don't need to do that because what that really does is creates more scarcity than abundance because you're like, well, fuck, now I'm in even more debt. It causes more stress and all of these things. Really, like if your goal is money, like how can I act as if I am a wealthy woman? Okay, number one, does a wealthy woman live in like a dirty, disgusting like bedroom, or does she take her dishes down after she's finished with them, right? Like all of these little things. Does a wealthy woman wear 8-year-old underwear that have like holes in them and like the elastics all stretched out, or does she throw those things out and just go to Target and buy new ones, right? So it's like small little pieces of showing up as the version of you who does already have those things. And so you have to believe that you're worthy of having those things in order to show up as that person, right? And one of my favorite like examples of this that's just so tangible and easy to understand is like a fit person doesn't show, an overweight person doesn't become fit by acting as if they're the overweight version of themselves, right? Because if they were doing that, they'd continue to sit on the couch, they'd continue to like eat the Cheetos and do all the things that the overweight version of themselves always did. But instead, they have to get up and act as if they already are the fit version of themselves, which means getting up and doing the workouts and, eating better and doing the things that the fit version of themselves would do, even though their physical reality, there's no proof of them being that person yet, but they act as if they are. They believe that they already are and that it's meant for them. So they take action that the fit version of them would, and then all of a sudden, they're the fit version of them. So we have to act as if we already have what we desire and make decisions from the point of view of the person who already has what we desire. And in order to do that, we have to believe that, we can have it and that it's already exists for us.
Oh, I love it. Oh, talking about belief. So how does life look now? Now that you're on, and hold on, Kay was having trouble with her laptop. She said she had to go. Hello. Kay, I always love how this works out. And real quick, while we're talking about belief, I always have this belief that I will always have enough guests to come onto the show. It's like, even when I've had guests have to cancel on me at the last moment and stuff, I'm like, my mom's like, oh my God, my mom, she's like, what are you going to do? Your guest canceled. I was like, I'll get another one. It'll be all right. She's like, what? I said, oh, yeah. I said, I'll get another one. She's like, hey, I said, don't worry. I'll get another one. And I always do. So Kay and me met the day of her show in a summit. And we were having a conversation through Messenger. And I said, oh, my God, my guest wasn't able to make it. And I had a feeling. And I said, I had a feeling she wasn't going to be my guest tonight. And she goes, well, you know what? I can be ready. And we had the show. So you guys, belief is a beautiful thing when you know what you're doing, especially like when you know what you're doing that you're supposed to be doing. That's the other part of it. It's like when you're really aligned with what you are, the belief's going to come really easy. Mm-hmm. You just like set knowing and tell people, they're like, what do you mean? It's like, I just know, like it's this, right. Like, I know, I know, even though I don't see it right now, it's already here. Don't worry. I know. You don't have to worry about it. I know. So how does life look now on the other side?
Yeah, it's pretty freaking nuts. So I'll list off all of the good things that are happening and all of that, but I also want to make sure to say that we always are who we are, right? Like I'm still living in a brain that has anxious thoughts, that has, questions of, am I good enough? Who sometimes, like I'm a body image coach, but I'll look in the mirror and be like, ooh, I'll see something that I don't like. And, so I want people listening to know that, yes, there is so much growth and so much beauty beyond where you are, but it's always okay to be human and to have like those, negative thoughts, those stressful moments, whatever it is. So even when you do get to the ultimate goal, quote unquote, whatever that looks like, right? I don't know where that is. But even when you do get there, there's still going to be parts of you that you carry on. You're still going to be human. And so that's just one thing I want you to remember before I jump into all of this. But yes, so um, whereas just a year ago, I was living in my parents' basement, making, well, so last year I started making a little bit of money, but a little over a year ago, I was making like $1,500 per month between Beachbody, babysitting, dog walking, like anything I could get my hands on. Um, I am now, so 2019 was a six-figure year. I have like five-figure months in my business. I am moving to San Diego on Friday from New Jersey, which is something that I have wanted to do for years at this point, and finally just worked up the guts and said, I'm gonna fucking do it. And I'm doing it. And I have the means to do it. And I'm able to, I don't have a job that I can't take with me. I'll be able to just pick up my life there where I am. I am, in a new relationship that's been building in a really positive way where there's this open communication, and it's the types of things that I know I was looking for, and I've realized that the deeper that I get to know myself, the deeper connection I'm able to have in the relationships that I have, whether they're romantic or platonic, and all of the new friendships that I've made. And I've made friends in San Diego and things like that already because I'm confident in who I am. And I'm confident that what I have to offer to people and to the world is worthy. So that translates in me being able to share what I have to offer with clients, with dates, with new friends. Right. So yeah, life is like it's really good right now. There's a lot of moving parts and a lot of things happening, but yeah, it's light years away from where I was when I was like in bed crying in college from that boyfriend with the ups and downs and the highs and lows and the body that I hated. And yeah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yes. So, and everybody, this is when I talk about facing adversity and fighting through and persevering. I always say, I think there's a few traits you need to take on with you or at least pick up, and that's resilience, perseverance, and grit. You guys, this is not for the faint of heart. For the love of God, y'all, this is not for the faint of heart. I don't say this to discourage anybody. I say this as like I guess, preemptive thing to be intentional about what you're coming in to do, because I believe all of this will follow if you're intentional about what you're going in to do and you understand that real things are not built overnight.
Mm.
This was I this is really important with you guys talking about these time schemes and everything, because I've had guests come on and say it took me this many years, da 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 da. And we so often think when we get on social media, oh my God, well, where the hell did they come out of? They did everything and we get so caught up in you can make 10K in 30 days. Like that suckered me in when I started in coaching. I was like, oh my God, it's like real things, you guys. This is something I had to learn. It took me all of 2019 to foundationalize my business and to start building traction into 2020. And that's why I'm so excited about 2020, because it's like, okay, now I kind of see where the seeds are starting to sprout. So you guys, the belief, you need it, but you also need to have an understanding that if you want something that's tangible, that's going to grow, that you're going to actually be able to build a life with, expect to be sowing seeds for a little while. Like that's why the belief is so important. Like understand that seeds must be planted and be grateful for the seeds. For the first few months, I fought that so hard. And then I remember in 2019, my theme word for the year was build. I just remember when I started my business, I had this voice inside of my head that says, listen, build it and I'll do the rest. Build it and I'll do the rest. And that gives me chills saying, I was like, oh God. So every time I would get down on myself, like, am I doing the right thing? I'd go, no, you're building, Ashley. Like, keep building, keep doing the stuff, keep doing the stuff. Like, even though you can't see it, keep doing it. And so it's like this show, it's like, even sometimes when I wish it would be like maybe more viewers or whatever, I'm like, you know what? Remember, Ashley, you came into this saying you were doing it for the one. So always keep showing up and sowing seeds for the one person. And belief is absolute necessity for this, but also have intention and make sure to keep the end vision in mind. And I think that's what, I guess that would be my, like, what are your key tips? Those are my key tips. You
There
guys
you go.
have an end vision in mind. And I won't say end vision and being like, that's the end, because if you're really in this, it's actually, I picked up by Simon Sinek, it's the infinite game. So, and this is something I coached me, you guys, this is an infinite game. If you're really in this for it, isn't an infinite game. I'm in this till the day they put me in the ground, whatever it looks like to me. And if you're anything like me, when you get to one achievement, you're like, oh, this is cool. You know, I'm here. And you're like, okay, well, what's next? What's next? So it's always being with that, what's next. But yeah, so have the end vision in mind, have the belief to go with it, but also I wouldn't say be realistic, because I feel like everybody's reality is different. So I can't tell you to be realistic. I don't know what realistic is to you, but have an understanding that if you want something that's tangible and that's going to take you through life, um, it's going to take longer than 30 days, especially to make 10K. Okay. I mean, it can happen. I'm not saying it can't. Anything can happen in this world, but with fast money comes short success. That's all I got to say. With fast money comes short success. So this is my other favorite question of the show. What are 3 tips or pieces of advice, tangible takeaways you would give to someone if they came up to you and said, okay, well, I'm going through a similar journey. What can you give to me to help me go through it?
Okay, good question. So, number one, first thing that's coming to my mind is give yourself grace, like I had said earlier. And then this is big on my mind this year because um, going 2019, my word of the year was expansion. And I really like clearly that happened for me, right? Coming into 2020, I realized, okay, this year is the year of grace for myself, where I'm going to allow for rest and for play and for forgiveness when things don't necessarily go the right way, whatever that means. So have grace for yourself when things like when you don't make the sale, or when things get hard, or when life gets difficult, or for when you hit a goal and it doesn't feel like what you thought it was going to feel like, right? Give yourself grace, have that, self-forgiveness and self-compassion. That's going to be one of them, another one. I say everything's the most important thing. They're all important, okay? One of the most important things is to have, compassion for yourself, because if you can't do that, then this whole journey is going to be miserable and uncomfortable, and there's no freaking point anyway. Um, so that would be one. Number two would be, accept that it's okay to put yourself first. Accept that it's okay to invest in yourself. Accept that it's okay to desire growth. Accept that it's okay to want to be better and to want to change. And that doesn't mean that you don't love who you are right now, right? We're human beings. We grow. We never tell a toddler, I hope you never change. I hope you never learn to walk and talk and do all these things, right? So who we are now is allowed to change and shift and grow as well. And so know that it's okay to be a little selfish and put yourself first, because that does also spread out to the people, around you in the world. And then number 3, I'm going to go with what you've been preaching all night, the belief. Like, have that belief in yourself, have that belief in the vision. Focus on that, like journal about it, pull cards, I don't know, meditate on it all the time. Just stand strong in it. Know that if you desire something, you're allowed to have it, you're worthy of having it, and build that belief, and give yourself grace through it, right? So when you do have those doubts, know that it's okay. Know that you're human. You can flow through them. You can work through those moments, and then you can come back, and maybe you have like a new vision now of how to get to where you want to go. But as long as that core belief of what you are capable of doesn't change, then that's all it is. And I should say, it doesn't need to be a belief of, I will be a 15-star Beachbody coach, right? I will be successful, happy, and abundant. Something more generalized, so that you're going after a feeling versus like an end tangible result, because all we really want is the feeling that's going to come from that thing anyway. So believe that you are worthy of a feeling, an emotion, like an existence, rather than something tangible, and you will 100% arrive there.
Mm. I like that. I like that. Put yourself. Oh, I like that. So
Hmm.
this is the last piece of the show where we tell everybody about what it is that you offer and how they can connect with you.
Yeah. So, okay, my favorite place to hang out ever is on Instagram. You guys can follow me there at Lily Nicole Coaching. That's Lily Lily with one L. And I'm on stories all the time there. You can add me on Facebook. I also have a Facebook community. It's free. Hashtag no filter with Lily Nicole. Hashtag everywhere. And right now, what I've got going on is my signature program, Bold Bodied Entrepreneurs, has launched. So that begins on January 19th. It's a 5-week program for entrepreneurial women, so coaches, healers, energy workers, network marketers who are really ready to lay the foundations within themselves in order to, like I explained in the beginning, share their message, spread their message, sign clients with ease because they are comfortable with who they are and in their growth. So yeah.
All right. And you guys, also, I have to put this. I want to put this. I'm so excited to talk about a little more. I know I've got the leadership mentoring membership coming up, but I wanted to talk real quick about my 4-month one-to-one coaching program that is 25% off the whole program this year, you guys. This is for women who are like visionary, purpose led. They're like, listen, I'm just tired of living the same freaking existence every single day. There is something more. I don't know what that is or what that looks like, but I am like ready to make this happen. So this is for that woman who is just like ready to go balls to the wall to make her dreams come true, to create the life that she wants to create. So it is 25% off the whole program for the entire month of January. I'm offering multiple versions of payment plans and referral bonuses. So if you send people to me and they get in the program, you save money. All right. Because I just believe everybody should be able to be empowered. And I don't think it needs to put you in debt to do that. So
I like that.
So without further ado, because I actually have to get off here, thank you so much, Lily, for being on here. And you guys, I will see you next Tuesday and Thursday. We are back to our regular lineup every Saturday or every Tuesday and Thursday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you guys so much for everybody that came in. And I am so excited to just keep building this and bringing more awesome people on. So have an awesome night, everybody.
Thank you so much.